deconstruct your innermost thoughts, ideas, and beliefs about racism, then Inflection Point Podcast, Cultivating Change from the Inside Out, is the show for you. Join Anita Russell, Mavis Bauman, and Gail Hunter in open, honest, and deliberate conversations every first and third Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, only on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Welcome to Playing on the Edge Radio, Radical Change with Ease, with Master Healer Megan Edge and Dr. Pat. This is a space for real conversations about what it means to heal, grow, and transform without losing yourself along the way. Here we explore the edges of change, grief, identity shifts, spiritual awakening, burnout recovery, transformation, and the quiet return to belonging. Each episode blends intuitive insight, practical tools, and meaningful spiritual perspectives to help you reconnect with your inner wisdom and navigate life's transitions with more ease, courage, and self-trust. If you're ready to come home to yourself and discover that radical change doesn't have to be hard, you're in the right place.
Everyone, I'm Dr. Pat, and I get to share the stage here with the most incredible healer, Megan Edge, and master healer, shall I say. Megan and I look at these episodes, and we always ask ourselves the question, what do we want to bring forward? And here's the thing I want to say about this show. Whenever we bring something forward, it represents a deep, vulnerable part of who each of us is. And that's kind of unusual. You know, you watch some talk shows and you hear that they're powerful, but who are the people giving them? You know, are they willing to say, wait a minute, we're just like you. We go through the trials and tribulations. And today's topic, we really are like you. On the edge of the child's heart, healing the child within. Now, for me, this topic is not just about a conversation about that, because you could pick a psychology book off the shelf and you can read them. They're like a million. Or you can understand what the child's heart really is. What happens to it? How does it shape our future? And today, we're going to explore the intersection of that somatic body awareness. We're going to explore the chakra system, chakra healing, and the innocence, that wisdom of that inner child. You know, this is a show where we're going to really look at the work Megan has done. And for those of you that don't know about it, we're talking really about Healing Hearts Oracle cards and the research she's done. But more importantly, this is a lifetime of healing and helping others. You know, this goes beyond a book or beyond the oracle cards, because Megan has also provided, you know, naturopathic solutions, really, when we're talking about the oils she's created or the remedies she's created, whatever that is. But the question really is, why? What is our why? Why did Megan and I decide to talk about this? So I hope you can follow the breadcrumbs today as we take you on a journey that starts with disconnect. That's where the journey could begin. And she and I have very different stories, but they're the same. Megan, it's a great episode, isn't it?
I'm so excited for this episode. I've got goosebumps, Pat. I've got goosebumps.
I know.
When it came to me that this is something really timely for us to talk about, I knew this is what we needed to bring forward. And the why for me is because it feels like in this world today, we have lost that connection to innocence. We've lost the connection to kindness that children innately have. In a lot of ways, I use the analogy, children are a little bit like dogs. You know, when dogs meet each other, there's no judgment. They're just like, hey, let's have a sniff and see where you're at, you know, and let's play. And little kids are kind of the same way, you know, without the sniffing. But I watch children on the playground, and I watch my little nephew. He's 6 years old. He's an absolute sweetheart. And he just goes up to other kids and says, hey, you want to play? And the other kid says, yeah, let's play. What do you want to play? You know, can you imagine what it would be like if we did that as adults more often? Just, hey,
Yeah.
how are you? Hey, you want to go for a coffee? Without the judgment, without the worry of what somebody thinks of us or how we're showing up in the world. If we can remember that childlike fascination and awe and wonder that we had when we were little, that hopefully we had when we were little before it left us or it was taken away from us, we can do so much deep healing without having to do an awful lot of work. It's really
Yeah,
about remembering what that
yeah,
felt like, which is the somatic part of this, what we're talking about today. It's the
yeah.
remembering.
It is a remembering. And so let's talk about this. Why is it that we could go and we could sit in a room or go someplace that's quiet, right? Where whatever that is for people. Maybe you sit
Mm.
at the beach. I have in the house we're in now, there's a room that's literally virtually old school living room,
Mm.
different than a rec room, right? No
Yeah.
TV. And that's the room I go to. So
Yeah.
but why is it there are some days when I'm sitting, it's quiet as all get out. I don't have anything blasting. And all of a sudden I can feel myself tightening up. And you could feel it. It's like OMG. Now, this happened to me this morning. This is so interesting.
Mm.
So why did it happen to me this morning? Because, you know, over 20 years ago, I created two brands. Crust Busting is one of them, which nobody has touched, but the other was Unstuckable. And beyond getting it trademarked and planning how to help people with it, I had this instance of five people literally using the mark on social
Mm.
media and yet I know my child doesn't know, but my logical adult knows, oh, well, like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? But my child is like, oh my God, la, la, la. Now, my Bronx child is more like a string of cuss words, right? Until you realize you have a tool. But it doesn't stop the reaction. And doesn't this happen over and over again for different reasons? I know you've been through this.
Absolutely. And, part of why it shows up in those moments of quiet is because there are no other distractions. And those aspects of yourself that are trying to get your attention, have been trying to get your attention for probably decades, have a little moment where they can peek through and say, hey, hey, me over here. Your response to somebody using your Unstuckable brand is that child response of, but wait, that's mine.
Oh
And
my God, right?
right? And part of what we're going to talk about today, especially when we look at the sacral chakra, which is where we have that first emergence of a sense of ourselves as something separate from our adults around us. We start to really find out who we are in that moment. That sense of self is triggered when something like that happens, right? But that's mine. And children learn what's theirs and what's not theirs. And we try to teach them that sharing is caring and all of that. Your adult mind says, okay, but Pat, look, it's fine because you've got the trademark and you've got solutions and you know what you can do about it. In that moment of quiet, when that trigger happens and that little self shows up and is feeling wounded, there's two things that can happen. First is that there's the opportunity to recognize, oh, I know what that is and I know where that's coming from. And then the second opportunity is to heal it. And you
Yeah.
heal it with the adult self, teaching the young Patty that it's going to be okay and that you're there for her and you're looking after her and you have that conversation. And in that conversation, that's where the healing happens.
And that's why today we're incorporating tools because I got to tell you my go-to. Now, I have to tell you that did not last for more than a nanosecond in the chair. Okay, you understand.
Mhm.
There are points in my life where that could have lasted 10 years. I'm just saying.
Yes.
But it didn't. Why? Because I have tools. The first thing I have is called a big book. And for those of you that don't know what the big book is, this is the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Mm.
And, I printed out 2 days ago one of my favorite quotes from the book. And I just haven't put it up in my room, but I remembered it. And it was a lifesaver for me. And by the way, it comes in a part of the book, a chapter that is so misnamed, but I know why they did it. They call it We Agnostics. And I've talked about this before on here. If you think you're going to read that chapter in the book, the word spirit, God, or otherwise, universe is mentioned 120 times in the chapter We Agnostics. And part of the mainstay of that comes like this. This is a reminder for me. When we become alcoholics, crushed by self-imposed crisis, right? This morning on the chair, we could not postpone or evade. We had to fearlessly face the proposition that either God is everything or else God is nothing. God either is or God isn't. What was our choice to be? And see, for me, when I say God to represent whatever you believe. Now, when I was in the program, it was the only thing I could relate to was goodness on demand. That was my acronym for it.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, that's excellent.
And it's what got me through chapter 2 of the big book. But what we're trying to say here today, too, is that there are things in life that trigger us.
Yes.
There are things in life that are more than triggers. They have sculpted us in some way. And what you're talking about here is some of the limitations of how we have tried to solve this. Let's talk about a few.
Yes.
Conventional talk therapy. Start out with that, Megan.
Well, conventional talk therapy has its time and its place.
Yes,
absolutely.
It does.
The number of clients who have come to me over the years, Patty, who have said, I've talked until I'm blue in the face. I had one client, she spent 10 years once a week, an hour a week with a psychiatrist, and realized after 10 years that nothing had changed. She kept telling the same story. There was no analysis of the story beyond the initial analysis and what medications she should have that would help her navigate this whole system. She had a wherewithal, and I don't recall exactly what that flash moment was for her, where she said, wait a minute, there must be some other way that I can do this. And the talk therapy could have been a good choice for her 10 years ago, just for her to identify her story. But to keep her in that story for the next decade seems kind of cruel to me. And I'm not saying anything against psychiatrists, just this one particular instance. When she came to see me, she asked me, will I be able to help her get unstuck from her story? And I said, no, actually, I can't. I mean, I won't be able to do that. I can help you see your story. I can help you understand how you're telling your story, and I can help you change your relationship with your story. I can help you, but you are doing the work. I said, do you think that you can handle that? Because I'm going to ask the questions that you haven't been asking yourself. Yeah. And she paused for a moment, and then she said, she kind of like squared her shoulders, and she said, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And
because,
yeah,
Megan, we do everything else for ourselves. We cook, we get our fitness, right? Right?
Yeah.
But this is the one area that somehow it's like we've become disempowered. And this is what you're bringing back to the conversation.
That's right. And the thing for her, why she was stuck in her story is because she was only using words that she understood as an adult, from the adult perspective. She had not been given the opportunity to let her little self show up and tell her story, what it was like when she was 5 or 3 or 2. When we move into the body language, then what we're doing is we're moving past the words that we use to describe our experience, and we're letting the body tell us what it was like to be that little child with a great aping adult staring down at us and giving us one of these or whatever it was. We block that because that is a horrible feeling. And one of the things that I get my clients to do who've had that kind of experiences is I get them to sit on the floor, cross-legged, and then I come and I stand over them and I just look at them.
Yeah, wow.
And what comes up for them is what it felt like to be that 2 or 3-year-old, to not have any power, to not have any words to say what they were feeling, or not being given the opportunity. And then what I do is then I get down on the floor cross-legged with them. So now I'm at eye level with them. And I invite their inner child to come forward and tell me what their experience was like. It's incredible what comes forward from that, what the adult mind has forgotten conveniently because of survival needs or whatever the reason is. And to have that experience of what that's like. And then we reverse roles. And then I sit cross-legged and then my client stands up and looks down on me and feels what that adult might have been feeling in terms of their own power over and where that came from.
Yeah. See, this is really key because now we're looking at this internal stress, and you do something that's called an internal stress scan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me put a caveat out there that we'll talk about throughout the show, maybe. But I went on a rant yesterday. I was co-hosting with somebody. Oh, I know who it was. I was co-hosting with Eric Lee, who has created something. He has created something about restorative justice that didn't exist. He calls it spiritual justice.
Mm.
Hello. Um, and we were talking about it. I made a comment about the show, television show. I don't know if you all get this up there, Euphoria with Zendaya. And she has won award after award, but it is a hard look at teenagers' journeys, but
Mm.
from a very dark perspective. I mean, I've watched it from the beginning because I like to see it. And then they ended it, right? Now, why did I make such a thing about it? And this is what we're talking about today. They could have presented the ending they had and an alternative ending. So the main character, Zendaya's character, Rue, literally takes a lace drug with fentanyl and dies.
Mm.
After years of watching the journey, couldn't you give us a solution that shows what kids do, teenagers do to overcome that? That's what this is about today. This is
Mm-hmm.
about sharing tools for adults, but it's also sharing tools so they can work with their children so that we don't have to be what this director and producer called a real honest view. No, that's not an honest view.
Yeah.
That's an honest view of defeat.
Yeah.
And what did it spark in people? There is no hope. There are no tools. There is
Mm-hmm.
no way out.
Mm-hmm.
And so today is not about that. Today is to say, regardless what that journey is, and even though it is a television show, everybody thinks it's reality, even though that was her journey throughout the years we've watched this, it doesn't have to be the ending, does it, Megan?
It does not. It does not. And as you know, Pat, a lot of the work that I do is around the story that we tell ourselves, the stories that we're telling ourselves, the words that we're using to describe our experiences, create the reality that we have of what we think happened to us. But what happened to us is not finite. It doesn't start and stop with the experience. And as we grow up, if we are given the tools to evolve rather than stumble through our teenagers and our adulthood and hope for the best and not ever learn from the things that we have happened to us and understand the significance of those early experiences, then it becomes a little more challenging
Yeah,
to figure out our way in the world. And
yeah,
the exercise, the internal stress scan, I want to
yes,
get to that. But before we get to
please.
that, I just want to say I had an epiphany one time when I was in a business coaching, spiritual business coaching workshop. And our mentor said, okay, I want you to stand in your grown-up self. So we all stood there being, grown-up CEOs and entrepreneurs and businesswomen. And she said, okay, now answer this question with the first number that comes into your mind. How old are you who's running the show?
Oh boy, I already got an answer, but you don't want me to share it, do you?
Well, I do.
I'm a little shocked, but no. What was your answer?
Mine was
Tell me.
6 years old. My little
Mine was
6 year old
11.
Megan, yeah, was the one who was
Dang.
who was who was playing in the background. And then she said to us, here's the thing, your 6 year old, your 11 year old, it's not their job. It's not their job to show up for you as the adult. Your job as the adult is to show up for her or for him. So give your 6 year old a break. Give your 11 year old a break. Go tell them to play in the sandbox with the other little kid that they just met, or draw, or have a hug, or whatever it is. Take that burden of responsibility off of those shoulders. And then the next part where I then took that epiphany was, well, what happened when I was 6 years old that I decided to take on the mantle of responsibility of an adult? What was going on in my family? What was happening where somehow I internalized that it was my job to make sure that everybody was happy
Oh,
in my household?
I know you and Linda, boy.
Yeah. And once I understood that, then I could start working with it, and I could start to recognize when that 6-year-old was showing up, and I could say to her, no, 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 it's okay, sweetheart. It's not your job to make me happy. It's not your job to pay the bills. It's not your job to placate anybody. Your job is to be a little kid and just express yourself and have a grand old time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now my 6-year-old doesn't run the show anymore. My 57-year-old runs the show most of the time.
That's when the 6-year-old hands off the baton to the 7-year-old, right? I don't know how many years we have to have the baton, but you do have an internal stress scan and an exercise, and it's a powerful one. Let's share it, because remember I said at the beginning, this is a show where we talk about things very authentically and very vulnerably. And for those of you out there that are listening, feel free to call in 1-800-930-2819. But let's share this exercise.
Yeah, so this is a really simple exercise. And I love solutions. I consider myself a solution-based healer because I know there's a solution to everything. This exercise, though, is not about finding solutions. It's simply about becoming aware of your body. So what I invite you to do is just take a nice deep breath, relax or close your eyes, breathe in deeply, breathe out. Feel that. Feel how the energy is moving and changing. Okay, now bring your awareness into your body. It might be the first time today or this week you've done this, or this month. Yeah. Notice where your fingers are. Notice where your toes are. Feel your lower back. Feel your shoulders. Just move your awareness around your body from the top down. And notice any areas of tension or tightness or heaviness. It's a quick check. Take a moment. Let the first thing that shows up be the truth of how your body is feeling right now. Okay, this is a quick check-in. You can do this any time of the day. And the more you do this, the more you train your mind and your energetic system to recognize where physically things are being held in your body. And you may be holding something from when you were 2 years old. And it's housed in your body. It's held in your body for safekeeping until you're ready to do the work around recognizing it and releasing it. Okay. Good. And that's it. And just come back. And if you have a paper and pen and you want to take a few notes about where things showed up, what came into your mind, even if what came into your mind was a chatter going, this is silly and this isn't working and I'm not feeling anything, that's okay. That is a response. That is a feeling about what's happening. Yeah.
So let me tell you what came into my mind as you're doing that. And I want to ask you if this is what happens, because I want to talk about, the unlocking of this, the connection as we're talking about today, or shall I say the disconnection. We'll figure that out. But the sacral chakra and the inner child, we're going to talk about that, because as you're going through the exercise, people think, well, it should have turned out this way. Well, when you're talking, I'll tell you what showed up for me.
Yeah.
And, this is how real and how great this work is. What showed up for me today, and I'm telling you, I cannot believe it, is what my core issue was at age 11. Age 11, I was the ugly duckling. And I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I don't usually use words like that. So you guys don't email me. I just got to be very direct about how I felt at 11. Ugly duckling. My dad remarries a gorgeous woman, barely 21, like almost the age of my sister. She is gorgeous. And when you were doing that pointing thing you were doing, all I could think of, that's why I don't wear red nail polish. That's what Mama Doris did. But in this moment, here's what happened. I went back to the three of us girls, and my stepmom tried to do the right thing. And she helped me enormously with confidence. She was my greatest supporter. But she would get us dressed up and we would sing these songs together. Now, one, I could not sing to a note. To this day, I can't. Benny, when I was working with Benny was like, please don't sing on air. But I had a vision of us three girls all dressed up, and my beautiful, gorgeous sister, Joyce, to the left of me, curly eyes, Cindy Crawford, little mole thing, green eyes, And my other stepsister, Doris, blue eyes, blonde hair. And then there's me in the middle, Chunky Patty. You know, my nickname was Pup. I'm not kidding. That came to me as we were thinking about that. But I didn't stay there in the exercise, you see.
Okay.
I didn't stay there. Now, I don't know how I didn't stay there. You can explain it as we talk about what unlocking the sacral chakra is. There's no resentment about it. It's just a moment of resemblance. Because all of the good that I got from that new family, from my sister, from my birth mom, my stepmom, Mama Doris, was my lifesaver. Because had she not been who she was for me, I would be dead today. There is no question about that. I would be the character Rue in the series Euphoria. So let's make the connection. First of all, let me ask you, what does unlocking mean? See, this is a term we use a lot. Unlocking the sacral chakra. Now, many people don't know what that is. So can you talk about that and what its role is in childhood trauma?
Yes, of course. Absolutely. And also, though, I want to acknowledge where you went with that exercise, Pat, and how you weren't triggered by it.
No.
So that tells me that you have already done the work around that. You can tell that story of being the ugly duckling. You can identify what that felt like, but you're not feeling it anymore. So the adult Pat has done her work in acknowledging and recognizing what that experience was and has given little Patty the support and the confidence and the hugs that she needs. So you can tell your story without the triggering. That's how we know the work has happened. That's how I know that we can move from a state of PTSD,
that's great,
for example, and we can move out of PTSD. You know, when clients come to me and say, I've been told this is my life now, I'm just always going to be in PTSD. And I say, well, actually, that's not entirely true. And do you believe me? And are you willing to do the work? And we do the work. And then they can tell their story from that place of not in the triggering.
Oh my God.
The story is still there because it's important.
I just got a text from a friend of mine. Okay, Megan, I'm going to leave you with this and then you got to talk about this.
Then we'll
My
talk
friend
about the sacral
says,
chakra.
Jokingly, ha ha ha. Oh, now we all know why you dye your hair blonde, Pat. What she's implying is I am the brunette in the middle of two beautiful blondes. So her assessment is that's why you color your hair blonde. Okay, no, it's not. But I'll have to work with Megan on that one. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Or it's just an expression of how you're showing up in the world.
Oh
You're
my
like
God,
a torch,
that's so funny.
you know?
That is so funny. Don't text more during the show. If you want to call in, call it. Okay. But let's make the connection here because first of all, you got to know what a sacral chakra is before you can think about unlocking it.
Right. And I would imagine that many people who tune into our show are familiar with the chakra system, but you don't necessarily have to be. Basically, it's a language that our body speaks that helps us understand the way in which we hold experiences energetically in our body. Many people, if they're familiar with chakras, are familiar with the 7 main chakras. So that's the root chakra, the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, the crown, and sometimes the 8th chakra. My system, I work with 11 different chakras. That's a whole other show. We'll talk about that another time. The sacral chakra being the second chakra from the root chakra. So the root chakra, it's important to understand that the root chakra is what governs our sense of safety. And in the story of the human journey, it is our place of birth, which I mean makes sense physically because that's where we come from the uterus, from our mothers. And all of our early, before language, pre-verbal experiences, including being in the womb, are housed in our root chakra. And our root chakra is a sense of safety if we had it. And if we didn't have safety when we were babies and very little, then a sense of not being safe in the world will set up in the root chakra. And then various physical experiences will happen at the physical health level to indicate that that's the case. And then we can work with those at the physical level and at the energetic level. When we move up into our sacral, in the map of the human experience, that's usually around the age of 4 to 7, generally speaking. And it's in those ages that we start to separate ourselves away from the cocoon of the family and we go out in the world. So think of going to nursery school or preschool or whatever it is, you're no longer only being taken care of by the immediate adults in your life. And as you're stepping out of that cocoon of the immediate family, you get to start learning about who you are in the world, in relationship to the world, at that 4-year-old capacity, right? To understand what that is. And so those very early experiences of interacting with other people, and especially other figures of authority, play an enormous role. They have enormous influence in how you then show up as an adult in the world, in your relationships with adults. And it doesn't have to be a great, huge, deep trauma that occurs during the ages of 4 to 7. It can be simply the sense of separation from your mother or your father or
Exactly.
whomever is the right. And then you take that, if that experience of separation was not a healthy one, you can take that fear of separation into becoming an adult as you become an adult. And then you use the tools that you learned as a child around how to stop separation from people. You use those same tools as an adult, and you end up in generally unhealthy situations and relationships. So I'm hoping that our audience is following me and can see the correlations that I'm setting up. And so what ends up happening then in our sacral chakra, which here I'll show you for those who can see. This
Oh,
is my
nice.
chart. Yeah, and I can make this available. I can put this in we can put this in the show notes for people to download if they want.
Yeah, or if you take a picture and send it to Emily, she can drop it in the edit.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So your
Mhm.
sacral chakra is this one here. It's generally seen as orange, and
Mhm.
it governs sex, money, creativity. And the essential oils that I use with it are orange clary sage, geranium rose, and chamomile. And the crystal that you would work with would be any of the orange crystals. Cinnabar is the one that I have in my chakra oils that I work with people. Understanding what's held in the sacral chakra around childhood helps us to identify what could be happening for us at the physical level in that area of the body. So this is reproduction for women. This is where our ovaries are and our uterus in connection with the root chakra. It's also the kidneys around the back. And so when you start to look at what is connecting, what is a physical ailment that one might be experiencing, like kidney stones, for example, what was their experience of safety as a child? What was their experience of being allowed to be their creative self? Because children are innately creative. They're innately curious. They're here to learn, and they're like sponges. They just suck everything in, the good, the bad, and the indifferent. And it isn't until they become an adult, if they have the opportunity to go back and sort through, what was a positive experience, which is what you did in the stress scan, right? You identified what at the time felt like a negative experience because you felt like the ugly duckling, but then you were able to take the adult perspective and say, right, but look at all the amazing things that happened for me because of this beautiful person in my life.
Yeah.
Right? So that would be more of a solar plexus experience, because now you're moving into the teenage years, and you're more independent. There's more self-identity that children just don't have unless we put it on them, right?
Yeah.
Um, so
I was a totally immature 11-year-old. So let's just be very clear about that. I'm not kidding. But what you're talking, we're going to do the sacral water release. But before you do, I'm going to give you the short version of what I just realized
okay.
based on what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as you're going through this, I'm thinking about where I was, what the trauma was. Was I separated from my birth mom? You bet your bippy I was. Mom was an addict alcoholic. I was an addict alcoholic as an infant. And then mom got sick.
Mm.
And immediately at age 5 to 6, they started to move me away. Well, started at 4. And I got placed in different relatives and then Catholic boarding school. So it doesn't get any more separated than that.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, what color is in almost every brand I create now? What is my favorite color? What is the color of my sneakers?
Mm-hmm.
What is the color that Unstuckable is being? Orange. How many orange cars have I had? Okay, so now I didn't know all this,
Mm-hmm.
but you understand what I'm trying to point out is what you help people with. I'm not saying that's bad. Orange is a bad, what color. But now I understand it more.
Yeah.
And so does it mean I have to heal something? I'm not sure. Or am I embracing a part of my life?
Right. So I think you're embracing a part of your life. And this is
I
the
hope
thing
so.
when we're working with the chakras and we're looking at the various symbols that we've created for these energy centers in our bodies, the different colors that are traditionally used, the different crystals, oils, foods, all of that. I have a whole 13-week course all about this that we can give links to for people to do. It's a self-paced course.
Okay.
Um, there is there is no negative or positive when we're working with energy. There is simply energy. What we then do with the energy creates either a negative or positive experience for us in the moment, but we can also change our relationship with that experience. And if we're working at balancing our chakra system, then we're working with all of what we identify as the positive attributes. So
Yeah.
orange is a cheerful color. It's an uplifting color. It actually dispels depression. If somebody's feeling really depressed, I say, think of the color orange. Think of a beautiful tangerine, that gorgeous citrine, orangey color. Think of that. Think of how you feel. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
right now we're kind of moving into the exercise. Think about how you feel when you imagine
Yeah.
the most crystal clear tangerine orange. You cannot feel depressed when you look at that color. You
Yeah.
just simply cannot. It's a
All right,
beautiful,
let's move
empowering
into the
color.
exercise, and
Okay.
then I'm not gonna take a formal break. I'm gonna hit a pause so we can give that information, because what I want you all to know is this is the reason why Megan Edge is an internationally renowned expert healer, and what I think is a spiritual alchemist in so many ways, and you can define that for yourself. Now, that's my name I give her. But let's do the exercise. But before the exercise, how do people work with you? How do they find out? Like, you made a tincture for me, for Linda. How do they do that? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, through the power and the magic of the internet, they can find me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel. There's over 300 videos there, including all of our radio shows from the past 5 years and what we're starting with now. There's so much information over there for you to play with and see if you love the way that I show up in the world and do my work. And then through there, you can go up to my website. You can reach out to me through my website. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Substack now. I'm also on Facebook under Megan Edge Healing. So just if you Google Megan Edge Healing, you're going to find me. And then all the different ways you can reach out to me. So email is my favorite. You can send me a text. Just tell me your name so I know who you are and it's not spam. And of course, through the Transformation Talk Radio platform, you can also find me there through my host page.
Excellent. Now, walk us through the water exercise, because, water is something that not everybody relates to, but water is part of a cleansing of transformation. So walk us through this. And then for those of you out there, we're really going to get juicy. We're going to talk about movement and completing the interrupted cycle. But first, let's have a moment with water.
All right. Love water. One of the signatures of water is that it always takes the path of least resistance, and it has incredible patience when we anthropomorphize it. If water finds that little crack, water will keep moving through it if it's the path of least resistance until it goes through. There's a sense of flow with water, and water is one of the elements that governs our sacral chakra. So here's what I invite you to do again is to gently close your eyes, take that nice deep cleansing breath in, and then slowly release it and let yourself settle into your body. And now place your hands gently below your belly button. This is where your sacral chakra is. Okay. And now visualize a beautiful, fluid, pulsating tangerine orange light. Just feel that beautiful energy. And it's gently moving like water. It's just flowing. And take your breath into your hands as they sit over your sacral chakra. And ask your younger self, what did you need back then that you did not receive? And allow whatever surfaces, grief, warmth, could be emptiness, could be a something, it could be a word. Just allow it to simply flow through you without judgment. And then take another deep breath in. And as you release it, let your body know that it is safe to feel what it is feeling now. All right, and then bring it back. On the exhale, slowly open your eyes. and look around and reconnect with your environment and give yourself a little bit of a shake. And again, if you've got paper and pen in front of you and you want to write something down, go right ahead and do it. And just know that whatever you received, you have the capacity as the adult to work with whatever your younger person gave you, whatever your little self gave you.
You know, we have two main topics now we're still going to cover today. We're going to combine them so we make sure we get them together because they're both equally important. My coach said to me the other day, I don't understand you. Now he speaks in broken English. I don't understand you. Why do you play better with the orange ball? You know, we don't use orange balls when we play in tournaments, but I play with the white ball. Then I play with you with the orange ball. You never miss the orange ball. Now I know the answer, which he doesn't need to know. All right, let's talk. I'm not kidding, right?
I love that.
Now I understand it more.
Yes, yes. You have an awareness now that wasn't
I have
there.
an awareness. Actually, they were thinking about changing the official ball in table tennis to orange, but who knows? So let's talk about, what this means, right? When we bring this together, when we take a look at, not just about what happens in the mind in our childhood, but there are interruptions that happen. There are boundaries we don't learn. So can we talk about that and really combine it with the off-centered heart and how to find joy? Because you got to have both of these working together, don't you?
Well, you absolutely do. And the first place of repair when I work with clients around all of this is the relationship with their body. Our bodies are magnificent. Your body is a temple. I cannot stress that enough. You could not go through this life literally without your body. Why would you treat it poorly? And yet that's what we're taught to do, right? We are not taught to look after our bodies. We are not taught in North America to have a relationship with our bodies that is healthy. Little children exploring their bodies, having their hands slapped and say, don't do that, that's dirty. That's an interruption right there. Little children who are singing off key, like both you and I did. Stop singing, that's an interruption right there, right? Showing your mother or your grandmother or somebody in your household, look at this beautiful drawing I did, and they go, where's your neck? Come on, the child is 3. The child can't see your neck from where they're standing. Do the standing exercise. Sit down and look up at an adult and see if you can see their neck. Right?
That's so funny.
There are all these little places, there are all these spaces in our childhood where we get cut off. And it's not necessarily intentional. It's not necessarily malicious. I mean, in some cases I've seen it and it is because the adult has got all the wounding that they haven't healed yet. And so they're projecting that onto their little child. The thing that I keep reminding people about when they're working with me is that that little tiny body that you started out this life with, it held and still probably holds so much more than you realize. It holds joy and it holds excitement and it holds all the positive things that we receive if we received them. And it also holds all the things that we don't necessarily recognize as being trauma, but they will pile up on each other, right? And then as an adult, we have the triggers and we don't necessarily know why. We get triggered into defensiveness or we get triggered into anger or we get triggered into feeling down about ourselves, or we've got this internal messaging system that's playing in the background that we're not conscious of, that's saying you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're certainly not pretty enough, and don't bother trying.
Yeah.
And when those kinds of things come up with my clients, my question to them is, whose voice is that? Because whoever voice that message is in, that's the adult in your life who gave that to you. And if you had to, you took it on and you made it your own in an effort to, again, placate or help or somehow have some sort of control over the circumstances that you were experiencing and that you were in. But the good news is all of that, because it's yours, it's in your body, you're holding on to it, you can heal it. And it doesn't have to be a great big, long, drawn out 10-year adventure with heavy duty medications. You can heal it through this kind of work, what we're talking about today, the somatic work, the understanding how things set up in the body, and then knowing the steps that you can take. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. This is the tritation of somatic research, which is that you approach a difficult situation with small measurable steps. You do one thing for a week and you see how you feel. And maybe that one thing is that you go out and you take yourself out and your little self for ice cream every day because once when you were a little kid, you really wanted ice cream and you were told you couldn't have it. And then something else happened. Like, I'm just using this as an example. Like, let's say your mom said, no, you can't have ice cream. And then there was a car accident. And now you associate ice cream with car accident. And so you don't give yourself ice cream. Go give yourself the ice cream for a week and see how you feel. Right? Like, these are the connections, but these can be small, manageable, little steps that we take to acknowledge and recognize what's happened to us, let it move through us and flow through us like we did with those first two exercises, and then do the release work. And the release work is the physical connection, and that's the somatic healing, which is where we take our bodies and we let them move in the way that they want to move intuitively, because our bodies are wise beyond measure and they know what they need in order to be in a state of grace and health.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is part of what we're talking about today. It's we started this out by saying, look, this may be going on for you. And now we're saying, wait a minute. This is the work, Megan, that you have committed your life to do to help people. And you and I are doing things in the world that we're doing because of these childhood events, but not because we're stuck in the trauma of them, but because we become more aware and we understand we are not the only people going around with these kind of issues. And then we're fortunate enough to have learned enough to be able to help other people. Now, again, before we go to the next piece, how can people work with you on this and many other things?
So I work remotely and I work in person. If you happen to live in the Victoria area or southern Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada, which is where I am, please come and see me in person. I love working in person with people. But equally, energy knows no boundaries. Energy goes where we direct it. So we can also do this work from anywhere in the world. And now, again, the magic of technology, we have Zoom, we have Messenger, we have so many different ways that we can be in each other's space, just like you and I are right now.
Yeah.
And the energy works because it just moves through the ether with our intention. And I know that might sound a little bit woohoo, but honestly, for anybody who's done any kind of work remotely, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, come
Yeah,
on now. Every one of us has got a little woo woo inside of us, you
I
know?
sure hope so.
Well, I know we do.
Yeah.
I know we do. Regardless of what you think about our president, he was the guy that came in and said, everybody needs to know about UFOs. So you don't get any more woo woo than that. Okay. So let's talk about joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Let's,
the end game.
that is the end game, isn't it? And it's different for everyone. Everyone has a different experience of joy, of happiness, of success. It's all very personal. So someone else's joy is not going to be yours. You know, I know, Pat, your joy, one of your big joys is playing table tennis. You love it.
I
That's not
do.
going to be someone else's joy. They're going to have something
No.
else that they love to do. So when you're
Yeah.
looking for your joy, first of all, don't look any further than yourself, right? And then secondly, you can ask yourself, what makes me happy? It's as simple as that. Where do I find joy? What makes me happy? And because we're talking about healing the child's heart and healing the child within, I have a perfect card from the Healing Hearts Oracle card deck for this very episode, which is called Child's Heart. And I have it right here. And look at this wonderful stone. Isn't this amazing? Can you see it there? And we'll put it in the show notes as well. This
Yeah,
is
please.
Child's Heart, and it's a completely wonky heart. And I found it on the beach, and I, as a child, loved being on the beach. My mother tells the story of how she would hear me from down on the beach. She was up on the cliff, and I'm down on the beach, 4 or 5 years old, and I'm toddling along, singing off key at the top of my lungs because no one had yet told me that I couldn't sing well. So I was just singing because that's what children do until they're told they shouldn't or couldn't or whatever.
Exactly.
And so now as an adult, when I go down to the beach, I'm always looking, what can I see? What can I find? And I find these amazing, amazing heart rocks. And what Child's Heart reminds us of is how to connect with our joy. So I'm going to read it for us.
Please.
Be patient and loving with your inner love child. Let her out to play at making love cards simply because it's fun. Be silly in love, allowing it to be the true expression of your soul. My favorite place is the beach of my childhood, and this was on one of the Gulf Islands here. This beach has everything. It has sand and beach glass and tidal pools and big rocks and trees to climb. It's an absolute dream for a child. When I saw this heart rock, I was reminded of the drawings of children. slightly off center as they grow into their individual expression of themselves. As a child, you may have delighted in being loved and expressing your love towards others. Even in the ideal expression of a child's loving, you're in the dynamic of everyone else around you. The heart's woundings can go far back into your family of origin. This funny little heart rock reminds you to play in your loves. Be silly and vulnerable. Make love cards because you feel like it and send them to yourself, or give them to a complete stranger to make their day. Place hearts on all your neighbors' doors just to give them a smile.
Yeah.
What a beautiful, simple message, and yet so deeply profound. And my invitation,
And powerful.
yes. And my invitation to everyone listening and watching is today, do something completely silly and ridiculous that you would have loved to have done as a child. And if you did it as a child, great. But if you didn't get to do it as a child, even more important to do it today, to open up those channels of joy in your body, because maybe they've gotten blocked.
Yeah. And, Megan, there are some things that, I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say, go join a dance class or a Zumba or something? And you're like, oh, no, but you don't have to go join a class. You can do your dancing in your own room, in your bathroom. You can sing in your shower. There are things that we don't allow ourselves to do.
Yeah.
Even when we have the space to do it.
Yeah, we get too busy being grown up.
Yeah.
And that's all well and good. And like I said earlier, don't let your 6-year-old run the show, but make sure your 6-year-old gets a chance to play with you doing something fun and silly and ridiculous. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about what you're doing or thinks about you. They can have their opinion of you. That's fine. That's their business. It's not yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about one last thing. And I want to talk to you about in your description, especially on joy. Talk to us about what it means to find our safe space.
Yeah. I wonder what people think of when I say your safe space. Like, what do you think of when I say safe space?
What I think about is, like I said to you, there's a room in this house. It's called a living room. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
The colors are some of my favorite, not orange. And there's one chair in particular that I can go sit in. First of all, it rocks. The room is quiet. And usually there isn't anybody else in this room when I'm in there. So one, I'm surrounded by beauty. Two, I know that I'm seriously protected from anything in the outside environment.
Right.
And three, it allows me through beauty, because I'm a visual, to really set my mind at peace.
Yeah.
That's just one example for me.
Yes. And that's a beautiful physical space that you get to be in. You can also take the vision of that beautiful space with you wherever you go.
Exactly.
And at any point that you feel a trigger coming on around something that's happening in the external environment, you can take that deep breath, place your hands over your solar plexus, and visualize, I'm in that beautiful room. I'm on that beautiful rocking chair. I'm safe. I'm safe. A safe space isn't necessarily a physical space that you occupy, although it can absolutely be that. It can be a place where you know that nothing is going to hurt you. Nothing is going to harm you. And maybe it's a space from when you were a child, when you knew, maybe you had a tree house, and up in that tree house, you knew that the rest of the world could just go away, and that was your space. You can bring that space forward energetically into your day in order to have that feeling again of safety. And I will say to people who've never had the experience of safety, because there are many horrible childhoods that happen with no excuse. If you don't know what that feels like, imagine what it would feel like to be in a space where you were completely safe, where you were seen without judgment, where you were held without expectation. Imagine that. And as you do that, what's happening in your brain is a cascade of chemicals, literally chemicals, is coming down through your body and beginning to melt the spaces in your body where those experiences have been stuck.
Yeah, it's fun. It's so funny. I flash back on two places as an 11-year-old that I felt untouchable. One, in the Bronx, there's something called monkey bars.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what they used to be called.
Yeah.
And I would totally control the top. There's only one time I let another kid up there. The second place was the dump down the end of the street. Now, back in the day, there were things called dumps
Yeah.
where people, yeah. So I built myself a little fort.
Love it.
And these are the things that you don't remember until you do something like this, until part of your teaching is to help us remember this. Now, it's funny about the fort because that's the living room in my adult world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
The living
Yeah.
room's not a dump, but you understand the similarity.
Yeah.
Megan, what a great show. Please share your personal message and also remind people, one, how they can work with you. And they may need what you gave me for Linda. They may need a tincture. They may need an oil because that is part of the journey. They may need the oracle cards. How do people get all of that?
Oh, thank you so much for asking that question. And that reminds me, June's special is that when you book in with me for an hour or a 90-minute session, whether remotely or in person, I want to gift you this beautiful box set of Oracle cards, the Heart's Journey, Healing Hearts Oracle Cards and Guidebook, as my gift to
Wow.
you for beginning your healing journey or continuing your healing journey. So you can reach out to me by going to the website meganedge.ca. You can also go to my other website, which is Beyond the Garden Gate Botanicals. .ca, I believe. So there's two websites. Beyond the Garden Gate Botanicals is the work that I do with botanicals, helping support the body as we go through the healing journey. Megan Edge Healing is the spiritual, the mind, body, and soul healing work that we do. The two overlap and weave together beautifully.
Again, thank you so much for today. Personal message. What do you want to leave us with? Because I think it's important, to go full circle and remind people of why we're doing a show like this.
Yeah, we're doing this show to connect with our inner child, our young self. So go back to who you were when you were that little person with the eyes of the adult that you are now, and give that little self so much love today and the next day and the next day, and just see what shifts for you. I know you've got this. You can do this. It's good work. It's deep, good work.
Thank you so much for the message today. And my friend texted me again. No, I don't have an orange car right now. They didn't. They stopped making the orange Nissan Rogue. So no, I don't. But if I could, I would. Megan, thank you so much for everything. And for those of you out there, if you've missed any part of this episode, it's really loaded. We're going to be pulling clips from it. Emily's done a great job of that. It's going to be up shortly for you to listen to, review. You'll be able to find it on the Transformation Network, ttrnetwork.com, on our YouTube channel. And how about your socials, Megan?
Yes. So YouTube, Megan Edge Healing. Sorry, Beyond the Garden Gate. I'm deer in the headlights. Megan Edge Healing on Facebook, Megan Edge Healing on LinkedIn as well. You can find me there. Substack. I'm now writing on Substack.
Nice.
All of that information you can find through the website, meganedge.ca. That's your best starting point.
And I only have one simple message for all of you. Whatever your trauma is, don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Emily. And thanks to all of you out there. Megan and I will be back because this is simply part 2. Our mission is to really move forward and help all of you out there, regardless of where you are, meet you where you are, and share with you the tools that Megan has developed and our experiences. There's nothing more powerful than that, which is also hope. We'll see you next time.
Beautiful. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Playing on the Edge Radio. If you felt seen, supported, or inspired, take a moment to subscribe, share this episode with someone you care about, and continue the journey with us. For more healing resources, to book a healing session, and to learn more about Megan's work, including the Heart's Journey, Healing Hearts Oracle Cards and Guidebook, visit meganedge.ca. And remember, healing isn't something you have to wait for. It begins the moment you choose to come home to yourself.